All right, hello everyone. It's November 16th, 2025, and this is Voice of an American. Today I want to talk about a YouTuber named Alex Wei. Not to attack him, but to calmly explain a shift I've seen as I've watched his channel grow over the past year. And what's genuinely concerning me, not only about his channel, but the state of politics, social media, and the wider discussion online. Um, anyways, the first video I ever saw from Alex was the one where he joked that he'd end up working at McDonald's because his physics degree, in his words, didn't translate well to the job market. And honestly, I thought it was funny. It was relatable. I've kind of been there myself when I was younger. I majored in a STEM field in college, and I can definitely empathize with finding a job market that can be rough, and I understood what he meant. And he also made some various kind of videos about modern life. I remember he did a video about the dating scene and how dating is very hard. And I'm married now, but when I was single, I absolutely felt the frustration he felt about a world where people are more isolated, more online, and less connected in real life, which can make it hard to find a partner and find some kind of like intimate relationship. So, anyways, this is not coming from a place of hate. This is coming from someone who actually likes some of his videos. But over time, his content has taken a sharper and darker turn. Right? I've noticed that he's been talking more and more about politics, presumably, probably because politically charged videos are probably going to get more views. And this is actually a pattern I see with a lot of social media influencers. They start off talking about modern life and dating and fitness and all these kinds of things, and then they start getting pushed more and more into the political world. But anyways, he started talking more about politics, but I could tell just from really subtle things that he puts in the thumbnail and his posts and the way he talks. His worldview has become extremely conspiratorial. In several videos, there are some hints that fit, honestly, really uncomfortably well and aligned with the classic sort of globalist conspiracy narratives that have been used for decades to scapegoat and blame Jews for every bad thing that happens in the world. And it's just classic, just anti-Semitic tropes. And let me be very, clear. It's absolutely okay to criticize the Israeli government. It's okay to condemn Benjamin Netanyahu. I am not a supporter of Benjamin Netanyahu. It's perfectly legitimate to feel a lot of empathy and concern for Palestinians who are dealing with a humanitarian catastrophe right now. With that said, the worldview of people like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, various members of the far right in America, is that their narrative is rooted in the myth of a global Jewish conspiracy manipulating world events. That's not criticism; it's scapegoating. It's racism and hatred that's dressed up as "quote unquote" free thinking. And that was the final straw for me when Alex Way released a video with Nick Fuentes in the thumbnail. A lot of mid-level grifter influencer people like to portray Nick Fuentes as, oh, he's just some controversial free thinker who tells some edgy jokes. Let me tell you exactly who Nick Fuentes is. He is a self-professed admirer of Adolf Hitler. He's a Holocaust denier. He's a white supremacist. Let me read some direct quotes. Quote, Nick Fuentes said, "Who runs the media? Globalists. Time to kill the globalists." Another quote, "The First Amendment was not written for Muslims or immigrants." Another quote, "Women secretly want to be raped." These are not misquotes. These are not edgy jokes. This is a man who believes and is repeating exactly what he thinks. So I sent Alex Way a message on his YouTube video minutes after he posted the video. And the way I wrote it was very respectful. I told him, quote, "Alex, it's fine to criticize Israel. It's fine to talk about foreign policy. But praising a literal neo-Nazi is not wise. You may not know everything about this guy, and that's okay. but you should really reconsider this video. That's essentially a summary of what I said. And my comment was removed. And after that, every comment I posted was invisible. It wasn't an accident. That moment told me something very important, is that Alex doesn't want a conversation. He just wants an audience who will blindly follow him. And that's what's happening with him is happening across the internet. Influencers who present themselves as neutral or just logical or just asking questions slowly start becoming more and more extreme over time, while hiding or silencing anyone who challenges that point of view. This is how extremist ideas get laundered into the mainstream. And as someone who I've spent a lot of time studying history, in the 20th century, entire nations were led into war and disaster because ordinary people didn't take dehumanization seriously until it was too late. And as a society, we can't repeat that mistake. We have to reject anti-Semitism, reject racism, and reject these influencers who normalize bigotry behind some smiling thumbnail or some nonpartisan label. I notice that Alex Wei likes to, if you scroll through the videos and his comments, he likes to say, "Oh, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. Both sides are bad. I'm nonpartisan. I'm just telling it like it is." That's bullcrap. Alex Wei, it's very clear that Alex Wei is, without saying it out loud, embracing far-right ideology. It's very mean-spirited, and it's dangerous. We can love America, we can criticize our government, we can criticize other governments, we can debate policy, but we can't ever make excuses and uplift people who just promote hate. So anyways, this is Voice of an American. If you like the video, subscribe, leave a like. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Have a good day.